Welcome back to The Double Take. I'm Ethan Mitchell.
And I'm Josiah Mitchell.
And we are back after a long furlough.
That's right. It was a good time. I was gone for about 10 days.
Yeah.
I was down in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell by his tan, but he got to go to the beach.
Okay. I went to the beach one time.
Yeah,
just
one
once.
time, and that sun was just on that skin.
I mean, what can I say? Me and the sun are just like that.
Guess where I was? In an office working on some Excel sheets.
So, yeah, I mean, that's fun.
No.
Come on, dude. I know you had a good time.
No, don't even.
Well,
so
I mean, my time, it was fun and all, but
like night surfing and jumping off bridges and into the water,
kayaking in the ocean, no big deal.
Yeah, whatever.
It was
awesome.
It was okay.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
but Savannah, Georgia.
But anyways, we're back and we're talking about something that I'm sure you've heard about. It is somebody who is just so immaculately handsome,
so good looking that when he walks in the room, you just break out into a sweat.
Just a cold sweat. I mean, your breath starts to come in gasps.
Your knees start getting wobbly.
You can't walk straight, let alone see straight, let alone think straight.
Now, I know you're thinking that's probably us, but we're not actually describing ourselves.
Many have described us that way.
Yeah,
but
tall, dark, and handsome, minus the tall.
Yes, never been accused of being tall.
Yeah,
but
so
handsome, absolutely. Dashing, of course.
Yeah, Prince Charming. A few times, but it's not really that big of a deal.
It's not us, but it's not us.
We're not talking about us.
No.
Just in case you were confused.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about a man who just recently came onto the public spectrum, and we can't wait to tell you about him. So let's get into it.
So the man in question that we are talking about today is it's not Ryan Gosling. No, it's not Ryan Reynolds. And we said, obviously it's not us.
It's not us. It's not Chris Hemsworth. It's not all these guys that you're picturing.
Now, of course, we would be in that rank, but anyways, not about us. I got to remember that. Today we're talking about the
second lady himself,
Doug Emhoff.
Let's have a round of applause for
Doug. Just a dashingly handsome man.
Let's show a few pictures of him and let's see what you think.
Come on.
Look at him. Beautiful looking man. Absolutely. So who is Doug Emhoff and how has he impacted American culture so far?
Well, Doug Emhoff is none other than the Vice President Kamala Harris and the front runner for the Democratic nomination.
I guess she is the nomination now.
Yeah, she has the Democratic nomination for president. Anyways,
whatever.
He's Vice President Kamala Harris's husband. And the media says that he is the man to emulate. He is just not only just so handsome, but his views, his values. He goes around and he decries toxic masculinity.
Yes.
He's known as like kind of a wife guy where he's just all about his wife and he doesn't really do anything except support his wife.
He wants to step aside and let her shine. And that's a good thing. We want to create. And when we're married, we want to create the possibility for our wives to thrive, right? We want that. We want them to shine because they're the beauty, right?
That's right. I know. And the Washington Post actually has a very interesting article. So why don't we read that
article? They're telling us how much of a hunk he is. This is what they say: Doug Emhoff, modern day sex symbol.
At 59 years old.
It says Emhoff is secure enough with his own masculinity to sometimes prioritize his wife's ambitions over his own. What a hunk.
Now that's their words.
That is their words.
Now this is a legit publication.
Like you just said. It goes on to say this. Move over, Ryan Gosling. The modern female fantasy is embodied by the man who might soon become our very first gentleman. Emhoff appears to be a genuine mensch with an impressive career.
What?
Yeah, so they talk about how wonderful he is. And they say this: whatever his previous marital drama, let's forget about that. That makes him the working woman's ideal partner today. He is an ideal partner for today. What a hunk.
So what are they talking about?
What are they alluding to?
What is this previous marriage drama? Well, listen, Doug Emhoff, young men, we're specifically talking to you. Doug Emhoff is someone to look at and run the other direction from.
Absolutely.
Doug Emhoff is not someone to emulate, and you may wonder why. Well, let's give you a little backstory. In 1992, Doug Emhoff married Kirsten Mackin, but in 2008 they got divorced. And now, while this, it is sad. It is really sad. While this may be, fairly difficult to find, if you look it up, if you do some research, you find that the reason for their divorce allegedly is because Emhoff had an extramarital affair with one of his children's nannies or teacher. There's some weird. It's either a teacher or a nanny or both. One person. Yeah, just one person. And this resulted in the breaking off of his marriage.
It was super sad. And what's worse that what we're seeing is he's going around the country and he's talking about toxic masculinity, and he is like the face of toxic masculinity, a man who's anti-toxic masculinity. And
the irony is that was toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
What he did to his family in 2008 by committing adultery on his wife,
forsaking his marriage vows,
and emotionally scarring his children, thus ending in a devastated marriage that ended.
It did, yeah.
And that is toxic masculinity.
It is.
Not caring for and providing and being the leader.
No, that's good. That's masculinity at its finest. But whenever you forsake that for your own selfish gain, for your own fleshly desires, that's toxic. And that's what he did. And now they're touting him as the perfect man because he all of a sudden flipped the switch and is now taking backstage and letting his wife do the talking, do the shining, all those things.
And while it is good to support your wife,
100%.
The CNN anchor, analyst, journalist even said that Doug Emhoff kind of appeals to men who are less testosterone laden, whatever that means. No, you know exactly what that means.
You know what that means. Lord God, let it never be said that I am less testosterone induced.
I don't think you could ever be accused of that.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But anyway, we don't want to be men like Doug Emhoff because he literally forsook his marriage, forsook his wife, forsook his kids for his own desires. And
right.
He gave up any kind of emulation that he could have had. We could have looked at Doug and been like, oh man, if he was faithful, we could have been like, yeah, let's be like that guy. But he wasn't.
And so why is it wrong for the media to tout him as the man to be like? Why is this wrong? Well, first, men should be the primary caretakers of their families. This means protecting, providing, and affording security, both physically, emotionally, and financially. But Emhoff disqualified himself from emulation by abandoning his matrimonial commitment and taking part in an extramarital affair. And this affair resulted in a pregnancy.
That's so sad.
Which might have been, could have been speculation, could have been the only reason the affair was discovered. But what happened as a result, like we said, his marriage collapsed and ended in a divorce because of his actions. He forfeited his role as a man and upended his marriage. That's one reason we shouldn't emulate him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he talks about, anti-toxic masculinity, and honestly, it's just a feminization of men. That's what we're gonna preach. It's just detoxifying masculinity is simply just trying to make men more like women.
That's right. It's anti-toxic masculinity is really pseudo-femininity.
It really is.
And I know those are some big words, and I stumbled over them during the practice, but
we probably sound pretty smart though.
Yeah, I know, like just big brains. I mean, that's who we are: handsome, good-looking, smart.
No, not really. But listen, as a man, it is your job to provide and to protect, especially emotionally. And that's one thing that he did not do with his previous wife. He did not protect her. He forsook her, and we do not want to be men like that.
That's right.
We want to be men whose job it is to love our wives and whose joy it is to love our wives.
That's right.
We're not married right now, but we hope to be.
Yeah, well, Ethan will be married in about 4 months.
Yes. Super excited.
Yeah.
We're excited. Can't wait.
We're excited.
Super excited. And I hope to be a man who loves my wife. And I hope that whenever I make that commitment and we say our vows, I hope that I never break that. But I know that because this world is broken, I know that there will be times when I am tempted to.
That's right. But that is why the vows, the covenant of marriage is so important in front of witnesses. That's why those old traditional vows are so good. They say, forsaking all others till death do us part. I do.
Yeah, that's who we want to be. We want to be men who can stick to those commitments. And there's a clear verse in scripture in Psalm 15 where the psalmist is asking the Lord, who can ascend your hill? Who can climb your holy mountain?
Who can sojourn in your tent?
And it is a man who, after many listings, and we definitely encourage you to go read Psalm 15, it says a man who swears to his own hurt and does not change.
That is something that is good. That is something to emulate.
Absolutely.
When you make a promise, when you make a commitment, stick to that. Even when it's hard, even when it costs you more money, even when it costs you more time, stick to the commitments that you have made.
Be a man of your word. Let your word be the contract. I mean, we see, especially back in a couple hundred years ago, men would not have a contract. They would say, yeah, I'll do it, and they'd shake hands, and that was it. And if you broke your word, you were no longer trustworthy.
That's right.
You were like anathema.
Yeah, I love reading old westerns. I love listening to westerns and hearing about these cattle drives where guys will drive 10,000 head of cattle, and sometimes they'll make a deal. They'll sell those cattle just saying, hey, I've got 10,000 head, and they'll get paid for 10,000 head because their word is their bond.
Absolutely, and we want to be men like that who are so trustworthy that what we say, people believe, you know? And yes, we want to back that up with actions, absolutely, but we don't want to be people that you cannot count on, because that's not good, and that's definitely not what a man should be.
It's not. And so, man, what we're trying to say is, don't emulate Doug Emhoff, who forsook his marriage and preaches anti-toxic masculinity and really just kind of steps to the side and pursues pseudo-femininity. Men, be strong, be masculine. If you have a wife, be committed to her wholeheartedly. Do not forsake your vows that you made in front of witnesses, and most importantly in front of God, because he sees and he cares. And those who swear to their own hurt and do not change, they will be blessed. They will be those who can sojourn in God's tent. They will be those who the Lord looks on with favor because he sees their commitments, and God is the one who has committed to his people and remained faithful to the end.
Yeah, so wrapping up, keep your commitments, keep your words, keep your vows.
That's right.
Love your wife, and be a man. Well, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Ethan Mitchell.
And I'm Josiah Mitchell. We are The Double Take. And as always,
be good.